When we attempt to remove God from society, that's when all hell breaks loose. I have this video from Charlie where he's confronted by this activist, and the way it unfolds will shock you. Let's jump in and watch.
So for one thing, you would make the claim that trans women are not women, and I think that is a harmful stance.
Okay, so what is a woman?
A woman was a gender, but a woman is a person that is female, you would say.
Gender is an artificial concept made up by John Money in the 1960s. There are no genders, there are two sexes, and there are unlimited personalities.
Well, your personality is unique to you. Your gender is a category that you fall into.
I thought that gender is fluid. So can trans women give birth?
No, but I don't think all women can give birth.
Can somebody self-identify as a leopard?
A leopard, no, because a
Why?
leopard has a definition of it's a different species. You can't identify as
But
something
hold on,
that you aren't.
but it's a different sex, so you can't identify as a different sex.
You can't, you're right. I wouldn't say that trans women are biologically assigned female at birth. That's just not true.
Oh, okay, so
but
what you're saying is that they're
matters, it's only
masquerading.
relevant in your role in society, the way that you're viewed.
It's not just about the roles in what they are. We are fundamentally different at our core. Our brain structures are different, our hormone levels are different, our needs, our wants, our desires, how we talk and process information. God made us uniquely different. It's not just how you look, it's not just how you present. A biological man can put on a bunch of makeup and camouflage as a woman. It will never actually make him a woman. It will not make him think like a woman or act like a woman. And so the whole idea of transgenderism is inherently super disrespectful to biological reality and real women themselves, saying that it is just an outfit or a costume that women can go put on and you magically become a woman. Parker, welcome, and the mic is yours.
Yeah, can I ask you, do you think that Elon was like saluting or doing a Nazi salute?
No, Elon Musk was not doing the Nazi salute. You traveled all the way from LA to ask that question?
That's not the only question. I can ask you about other things.
You only get like one other question because we got a long line, but okay.
Do you think slavery at all points in history was wrong?
You asked the same question at Jubilee, but yes, yes, you did actually. So what is my answer?
Well, you'd have to say yes, because in Leviticus 25:44 through 46, God says you can own people as slaves and pass them down to your children as inherited property for life.
Okay.
And in Exodus 21:20 through 21, God says you can beat those slaves insofar as they recover after a day or two.
So what is the word slave in Hebrew?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
It's Eved, right? Yeah. Where are my Jewish friends in the audience, by the way? Yeah. Am I right? Is it Eved in Hebrew? Right? So what the Torah did was the first ever historical document that led to the abolition of slavery. But we also, as Christians, believe that we are all set free in Christ Jesus and that we are all set free of our slavery. And I hope, Parker, one day that you can give your life to Jesus. Thank you so much for being here. Let's get to some of our students here today at Northridge. Thank you, Parker, so much.
You can argue with people who don't care about facts and truth, and their only argument is based on emotion and feelings. Clearly, this guy, he's not listening. He's only trying to argue, to express his views clearly. Oftenly, he's, interrupting Charlie. Well, it's crazy. And let's watch further.
I only debate people in good faith. You came up here, you asked two sloppy questions. We're done. Thank you, Parker.
Hey, wait. Okay. Hey.
You are so thirsty for clicks right now. Like, it's unbelievable.
And you're so scared to debate me.
Actually, I'm not scared.
Then debate me anytime,
honestly, I'm good. I just debated the governor of this state. I don't need to debate you, Parker, okay?
So my real thing is, how is Doge not a pyramid scheme when it's essentially being a department that is hiring federal workers to take money away from other federal workers, which is thus creating a strain on the Social Security?
You do know the workers for Doge are working for free, right?
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
They're all volunteers.
Okay. Valid. All right.
And do you know about the Doge dividend?
Yeah. You can tell the crowd though. You're more welcome.
Tell me about the Doge dividend.
I'm waiting for you to finish your part, sir.
So for example, when we say $40 million on improving the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants, $520 million on ESG consulting, $47 million on learning outcomes in Asia, President Trump's plan is to send every single person in this audience a $5,000 check. Get the money back in your pocket.
Yeah, that's a bunch of hoopla.
Well, that's the plan. We'll see. You see, the money is actually not a pyramid scheme. It's the largest and most ambitious taxpayer refund plan in the history of the country.
Ladies and gentlemen, we need more people like Charlie in this world. Absolutely, his intelligence is truly remarkable. you can tell that his depth of understanding, his ability to articulate, it just sets him apart. It does. You see? Yeah. I mean, his insights is just out of this world. Yeah. What a man. What a man. And more individuals, they are inspired by him. I being one of them. Clearly and absolutely. Yeah. The world would be a better place if we could have more people like him. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this guy clearly, the one who's debating Charlie, he's crazy. You see, he's crazy, literally. That's all that they do. They never listen. All they do is argue, and try to say whatever side, whatever perspective that they have. It's sad. Well, let us watch further. Let's watch another video.
Should kids be allowed at Pride festivals?
Yes.
There's evidence and common opinion to say that there is nudity, partial or otherwise, kink culture, adult content at these events. Is that age appropriate for children?
I think it would be very dependent on what you're defining those terms as, but yes, kids run around naked all the time.
If someone was to expose themselves on the street to a child, should they be arrested?
Yes.
Common sense. If someone at Pride parade exposed themselves to a child, should they be arrested?
If a person that is not covered up walks up to a child and exposes them, then yes, they should be arrested. But if it's in a parade environment where people are expressing themselves and being their full person, and there's going to be nudity, and a parent can decide whether they can take their child there. If you're taking your child to an event where you think there's going to be nudity, you're not then going to be like, oh, someone's exposed themselves to my child. Like, no, that's not going to happen.
Last but not least, Pride has developed over the last 50 years, arguably, incredibly so.
150?
Is there any argument to say that Pride is now normalised and legitimised for certain people, certain demographics, with ulterior motives?
You know, this lady identifies as someone who's disconnected from reality. That's the honest truth here, ladies and gentlemen. She is absolutely disconnected from reality, you know? I genuinely think this lady doesn't even know what she's talking about or what she believes, for that matter. I mean, she jumps from one idea to the other, contradicting herself almost at everything. She sounds, I mean, it's as if she's just saying whatever sounds good at the moment without any real conviction of those statements, you know? It's crazy. It's crazy. Because this is another great example of cognitive dissonance. I actually feel sorry for her, because it's as if her brain clearly is melting as she constantly tries to explain. But hey, let's watch further.
Concerned specifically with children at these parades?
I think that people are trying to use Pride as a argument for protecting children. If you're really worried about protecting children, like, taking them to a Pride festival is not really like the thing that you should be deciding on what is protecting them or not.
Should kids be allowed at Pride festivals?
Yes.
Should kids be allowed at Pride parades?
Definitely.
Totally, 100%.
Everyone should be allowed.
Everyone should be allowed.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just imagine
as long as they're celebrating and not protesting.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Just
But in
imagine
that sense,
I've never been, for example. Just for argument's sake, say I've never
You should
been.
go, it's going to be fun.
Okay. Okay, cool. A lot of the feedback from the culture at Parade is that there's a lot of kink culture. Is that the word? Kink culture?
Yes, that's the word.
There's nudity, whether it's partial or full. It depends on which part of the world you're in, I suppose. I don't know. Adult content. Is that age appropriate for children?
That's a very good question.
In general.
Yeah.
I think it depends on what context, right? I don't think nudity is a bad thing at all. And I don't think that exposure to certain kinks is a bad thing at all either. It's just a part of our world and a part of the conversation you need to have with your children at some point. So I think it's always appropriate depending on the context that you're going to, provide them with.
If someone was to expose themselves to children on the street, should they be arrested?
Born the wrong.
Ladies and gentlemen, a woman is a woman. A man is a man. I will not play into someone's mental delusion. If they want me to go along calling them a cat, a dog tomorrow, whatever, nah, it's not a Christian thing to do. Yeah, anyone can act, in whatever way that they choose to act. But if you need help, you need to get help. If I watch you destroying yourself and don't intervene, Sama, I'm not being nice. Yeah, I'm not being nice. I can go along with that delusion and watch you destroy yourself, because it's not based on reality. A woman is a woman. A man is a man. Simple as that. Yeah. Well, let's switch further.
Totally.
In general?
Expose, you mean like...
During Pride, you mean?
No,
nudity?
on the street. In general. Any part of the world, any country. Whatever the law is.
That's a very tricky question, because it depends on their mental state. If they're mentally unstable and they're not aware of what they're doing...
Which they probably would be if they were doing that, right?
Well, maybe not.
Okay.
What if they're just walking down the street nude? They're exposing themselves to children, but if they're unwell, then they might not necessarily they shouldn't get arrested. They should be taken care of in a different way.
What are your thoughts?
Well,
Context, it's all in context.
Yeah, I think it all really depends on context. Obviously, if you go to like nudity beach with your child and you're like, you're teaching a child to be like comfortable in your body, and that's the place to do it, then obviously not. If it's in the context of like day-to-day life on the streets, then questionable, definitely questionable. And I think, I wouldn't want my child to, like, if I would not be ready to like expose my child for that, I would not be happy with it. And I think in that context, on the streets, people should be arrested.
Okay, so same question at Pride. If anyone at Pride was to adult performer, or I don't know how it works, but in terms of someone who's actually not a participant of Pride, but I don't know how it works, but if someone was at Pride and they expose themselves, should they be arrested?
What do you mean by non-participant?
If is there a procession or something like that, a performer, if anyone or anyone.
A performer, which kind of performance though? There can be so many.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Any performers. If anyone exposed themselves to a child at a parade, a
when you say
parade,
expose themselves to that.
Ladies and gentlemen, God doesn't make any mistakes. He doesn't. He is perfect in all his ways. Yeah, you were created with an intention, with purpose and love. Hear it from me. Every detail of who you are, your personality, your experiences, is part of a divine plan. There is no man who came to this earth as an accident, or, of course, I understand sometimes your parents may say, well, you were accidental, we didn't plan for you. But the fact that you were born, you were here now, there's purpose for your life. And that goes for everyone. It does. You are exactly what you were meant to be. You are not by accident, but by design. Even in the moments of doubt, trust that God has placed you where you are for a reason. He makes no errors in his creation, ladies and gentlemen. Don't let the devil lie to you and say, oh, you are a woman in a man's body, or you're a man in a woman's body. No, God doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't. Let's continue watching.
To a child, do you mean a child just happens to see them nude, or you mean goes up to the child, invites them to look at them nude? Because that's a very different...
Either, you can give an answer for both. Either.
Well, my perception to nudity is normal. I grew up with the concept of, there's nothing wrong with being nude. Coming from a European family that were very open.
Sure.
So I think if you just so happen to be nude, it's a different story than if you go up and you try to expose yourself in a sexual way, right?
But if a man, whatever, or female, was to expose deliberately in front of, targeted, if I'm hearing that right,
exactly,
that would be a different...
I would feel like that's a different context.
Would they need to be arrested if they did that?
That is not up to me. That is up to the law, and the laws are different.
Yeah.
And they might, laws often don't apply laws are often not, there's no, what's the word I'm looking for? Laws are very, this equals this, right? But there is context, again, in everything. So whether they should get arrested in that scenario, again, there should be many decisions involved.
Because people keep talking about gays exposing themselves, gay people, but at the same time, people don't talk enough about gay people actually being targeted by lots of people that are super aggressive,
Should kids be allowed at pride parades?
Yes.
Why?
Because children also should see that there's diversity. Like, if you ask me about this, I'm doing my thesis on teaching kids about pride. So, yeah, I feel like they should know everything about it.
So at these pride, so obviously we take both sides of the argument into play, and we see a lot of images of, you'll have seen this as well, scantily clad men and women,
Yes.
and a lot of nudity,
Yes.
and a lot of exposure, kink culture as well, a lot of adult culture. So is that an appropriate place for kids to be in at these pride parades?
I think it is. I think we're trying to figure out what the parade should be. So I feel like it should fight for our rights, and it should also show things that kids can see. And I feel like there should be a third part for maybe the more adult things.
She speaks in a rigid, almost mechanical manner. It's as if every word that she's saying is being carefully preloaded into her system, ladies and gentlemen. You can almost tell there's no genuine emotion from what she's saying. It's as if it's a series of rehearsed lines delivered with robotic precision. Ladies and gentlemen, when common sense is uncommon, reasoning is replaced with feelings, that's when chaos begins. This lady is literally trying to recite what her social media influencer told her to say. It's sad, but it's reality. That's what's happening now. A lot of people, they are being raised from the screen. By their televisions, their mobile phones. It's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like if the law tells you not to get naked any day of the year, then don't get naked on Pride Day. But also
I think that's interesting. So I think that's my question. What's the difference between a grown man like myself exposing myself to a child, for example, and pride festivals? Based on what we've just explained, what's the difference? Should they be arrested?
No.
They shouldn't.
No, because I mean, I don't know. Maybe I haven't seen all of the pride parades, but I've never seen full nudity.
Sure.
You can see people dressed with not a lot of clothes, but the things that have to be covered, I've always seen them covered. So you go to the beach and you see the people almost naked. So to me it's the same, because I've never seen anyone fully naked. If people get fully naked, I don't know about that, but I haven't seen it.
So you're saying, sorry, this is last question. This is a key part of the conversation. So you're saying that as long as it's not full nudity at pride parades, but we've already agreed that there is scantily clad kink culture. There is clearly a lot of flesh on display at family-friendly, as branded as family-friendly events, if I'm not incorrect there. Is there any difference between that and children experiencing that, and a man choosing to flash or expose himself to children? Is there any difference?
Yeah, there is a big difference to me. In my opinion, there's a huge difference.
What's the difference?
One thing is you see somebody, you can maybe expect a bit more nudity. The same way you'd expect something on, I don't know, another festival, you'd expect certain things. You can expect someone to maybe wear less clothes on a pride parade. But you as a parent or as a family member should be the one who tells the difference. But I don't think... I think they're two different debates, and mixing them is kind of could be close to homophobia. So I don't want to put them together.
What's the debate when you say the two different debates? So one debate is child safety. When you say there's two debates, which what are the two debates?
One debate is whether people should be getting naked anywhere, and then there's pride. For pride, there's a certain context and a certain thing that's happening, and things that happen surrounding it. And maybe somebody, to show their pride, they need to wear less clothes one day. That's one thing, and I feel like on Pride Day, there's a parade and you know that's going to happen.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, we live in a fallen world. We live in a fallen world that is made by sin, brokenness, and suffering. You see? That's just a fact. That is just a fact. But yet, in the midst of all the darkness, we have absolutely incredible hope. There is hope. You see? And thank God because of his boundless love and mercy, he sent Jesus Christ as the sacrifice to die for us and to give us life in return. And all we need to do now is to invite him into our lives and have him take the lead. That's what we need to do. That's it. You see? Because we can never redeem ourselves, or we can never save ourselves. Because without God, you know, one thing, all this social decay, it always begins when we try to remove God from society. That's when the decay begins or starts. Always. Always. And that's terrible. That's terrible. It shouldn't be that way. And to some extent, I think it was good for this lady to have this conversation, because I firmly believe that Charlie somehow planted a seed of truth in her, and hopefully she will go back and think on those things, think on those statements, you see, and probably someday discover the truth for herself. Because in as much as I don't agree with what she was saying, she was polite, she was respectful. Yeah, and that's something that you don't commonly find, especially in those who are the liberals, the leftists, and all those guys, you see. So I pray that my deepest prayer is that she will find salvation, she will find the truth, and there will be light in her life. Her eyes will be opened, you see, and her mind renewed so that she can think clearly and also join her son, a conservative, in the fight of the light, or fighting for the light. And once again, I thank God for Charlie. Always pray for him for wisdom, for knowledge, for understanding, that it continues to grow in his life, and also throughout American campuses and everywhere else, literally, ladies and gentlemen. And that's pretty much one of the reasons I share these videos with you and with everyone, so that more people can get to discover the truth and also lead a peaceable life, you see. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to watch the next one. I'll see you. It's bye-bye for now.